Welcome to another episode of Legal for Tech, the podcast. So, guys, you do recognize my voice. It's always Rosie here. And as I've said many times, this is just a group of students and young professionals who are very interested in anything that has to do with technology. And yes, it's regulation. So, guys, as always, now I'm joined by my friend and producer of this podcast, Giacomo Di Gregorio. Hi, Giacomo. Great to see you.
Hi, Rosie. I'm quite permanent now, I would say.
Yeah, I would say you're the only Giacomo in the game right now. Um, and we are interviewing someone that, well, I think most of our listeners probably be following on LinkedIn, I have to say. Great to see you, Federico Marengo. Welcome on the show.
Thank you very much, Rosalia. Thank you very much, Giacomo, for the invitation. I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be here. And yeah, let's go on.
It's such a pleasure to finally meet you because, of course, as I said, at least bringing it from my personal experience, I do follow you and I do love your content when you post something about the AI Act or AI regulation, AI compliance, anything that has to do with data protection and AI. I'm always so hooked by the level of detail and analysis that your very often reports reach. So, before we start talking about the topic of this conversation, which will of course be about AI, let's give a bit of a overview of your life, your career, your personal kind of development within this kind of field. Tell our listeners why you're here.
Okay. Well, it was for me a very long journey as to be where I am right now. To begin with, I am from originally from Argentina, so I studied law. I worked for many years for the judiciary, but then I moved to Europe. I studied an LLM in the UK, but then once I started to work for consulting, I also started the PhD in Italy, more precisely in Milano. So and this is where I am based near Milano right now. So and my in my professional lives, I try to merge both the work from consulting, so which is a more practical approach to things, and also more theoretical background, which was mostly provided by my PhD, and also the interconnection between practice and also academia. And this is where I studied the intersection between privacy and AI. Of course, 5, 6, 2018, 2019, AI was a relatively niche topic. So and the trend was mostly privacy, data protection. So 2018, the GDPR was starting to kick off. So most organizations were willing to incorporate and to update their privacy programs. So there was many opportunities at this front. But then over time, we've seen how automation and how a system really kicked out. So over time, even if I started being engaged as a consultant, both in privacy as a DPO and also as an external privacy resource, I also got more and more engaged in AI related engagements as of and up until 2014, where when I moved to as an internal resource. So I led the AI governance program at Informa. Informa is the largest B2B event producer. So we managed in my role, in my capacity, I was responsible for designing, building, and rolling out, of course, with the support of other stakeholders. But it was my core responsibility to lead this task. But so it was a great experience. But now I finally moved back to my previous consulting work, but now as a head of AI governance. So and now basically what I'm doing is I'm supporting clients on the implementation of their AI governance programs, both in the preparation for the EU AI Act, and then we can discuss a lot about the AI Act, but mostly preparing or setting the groundwork for enabling the AI adoption. This is the core work, and also we are developing an internal tool for practitioners, which is called Protect. But in this tool, we try to support practitioners and also companies to govern AI, but also other fields like privacy and security. So this is in a nutshell my journey and where I am, and I occasionally publish things in LinkedIn. I like to be updated, and it's a good exercise for me because it forces me to go through the topics and read them, and then doing some work on this front.
And that's indeed a long journey, spanning from different firms and different roles. So, setting the ground for a more specific discussion on the AI Act, I wanted to ask you, since your background is a very rich background, what do you think? What are the greatest challenges on AI governance right now? What do you think are the greatest challenges at the moment?
For companies, you mean the greatest
Yeah.
challenges for companies? I would say that it basically depends on the company. It depends on the level of maturity. It depends on many factors. But I would say that across the board, one key challenge is to ensure that adoption goes in hand with responsible adoption, or setting the safeguards at the same time. So there is a very, very big push in every company. Every company is interested in fostering adoption, in enabling adoption, in trying to increase productivity by using AI or any automated means. We've seen some years ago, or 2 years ago, when ChatGPT came to the scene. It was mostly generative AI. Then it started to be more images or more diverse media generation. Now we are in the era of agentic AI, or AI that can not only generate content but also take actions. And the one of the challenges that I see, and this is across the board, is that every company is interested in enabling adoption, but one of the key issues is that on the one hand, they don't fully understand how this technology fully work, and then when you don't understand how this fully work, you don't know how to plan this and how to enable this adoption. So, and this is what we try to do with organization, knowing what their pain points, understanding their usage, and also see how this can be used in a manner that don't create great risks for these organizations.
What is the role of the legal professional in this adoption operations? Because I feel like many organizations would kind of, I would say, scare away from actually talking to the lawyer of the situation. Sometimes being like, if I really have to call them, I will contact them. Sometimes, very often, it's too late when that moment happens. How do you see your role in this? How do you kind of help the client understand your position and your area of expertise? And for example, how do you help maybe the engineer understand why you're there?
Well, this is a good question, and the role of the legal professional, again, it varies with the different type of use cases. Right. I think that for legal professional, we need to be more pragmatic. Try to see that regardless of what we say, they are going to adopt the tool, or they are going to develop it is a risk mitigation strategy. We should not engage in theoretical discussions. We need to see what is the less risk action that they can take using the technology. So I think that for us, we need to bear in mind that we need to be practical, and we need to be focused on the real risk, differently from those theoretical that we can see either from the books or in discussions, high level discussions.
And in this light, of course, the law kind of steps in if you think about it, because yes, we have like these discussions and like this kind of like desire to be practical. And then, of course, the legislator sets boundaries to this practicalities, and the law kind of becomes one of the factors to consider, one that perhaps without legislation we wouldn't
Yeah.
have to put in straight away if you think about it. So we are seeing the European Union moving in a specific direction. It's not the only country in the world. We know that South Korea also has implemented and enforced an act that looks kind of like has some points in,
Yeah.
can be similar to the AI Act in some cases. So, um, from your perspective, how are companies viewing the AI Act? Is it all bad press? Do they actually think that some part of it can be useful for the adoption of AI tools? And how do you kind of present the AI Act as being something that can be also deployed rather than just scared away from?
Yeah. Well, I guess that I receive a lot of questions or inquiries in relation to the EU AI Act. The first thing that we need to highlight is that the EU AI Act, or most of the companies, will not be greatly affected by the EU AI Act. We know that for context, the EU AI Act establishes a risk tiering where there are prohibited systems that cannot be used, high risk systems which are heavily regulated, and then there are a very large chunk of AI systems that are barely regulated, but there are very little regulation that for most of the companies, the core of the EUA Act will not be applicable because the core of the EUA Act is targeted to providers of high-risk AI systems. So this is the first thing that companies need to be aware of, and also in relation to the discussion that we have. Now that it is likely that the EUA Act will be postponed, or the application of certain provisions of the EUA Act will be postponed, it is definitely some relief. It is definitely relief for these companies that will be targeted or will be impacted by as providers of high-risk systems. But in general, I think that in general, companies can find usefulness of this regulation, in the sense that there is a clear requirement of increasing the AI literacy, increasing the AI fluency. So, and this is something that companies should consider regardless of the legal obligation, because enabling employees or upskilling employees is something that it will bring benefits long term for the organizations. And also important to highlight that it is not only the EU AI Act. Even if we are in Europe, we are concerned by the impact of this regulation, but many companies operate globally, or at least the companies that we use, companies that usually have funds to operate globally, and they need to consider laws globally. You mentioned before Korea, but in the US there are dozens or many law. Even if they are not general laws on AI, these are very specific laws targeting either data protection, biometric data, employee relationship, or fair housing. So for AI, or for lawyers, we need to be mindful of this global aspect. Know that the regulations are all over the world, starting to be enacted, and keep track of these regulations. Fortunately, now we have also AI assistants to support with our work, but still it is an additional effort that we need to put on our side as well.
You mentioned the digital omnibus, and I would like to focus a bit more on how it was born, how it was fought from the European Commission, because Once I spoke with the vice president of an Italian association for it doesn't matter for their work, but they're working in the digital field, digital policy field. And what struck me was that they were mentioning the fact that for them, the European companies didn't push to have a digital omnibus, but it was just the American companies. So that was like a sort of dependency. Do you think that this thing is true, or is partially true, or is totally not true?
Well, lobbying is part of the legal process. So of the process of creating laws. So I wouldn't be surprised if in addition to European stakeholders, they might be stakeholders from overseas. But regardless of, I think that regardless of the of who was the main driver of these reforms, the important is that it will bring companies relief to their operations. There were many things that as of now, these are not clear. For instance, we see right now when we try to support organizations, we have definitions of AI, but still sometimes it is not easy to determine or to ascertain whether a system fits or not within the definition. So and this postponement will also help the work of other, for instance, standardization bodies to create the set of standards that will also provide more guidance and more support to the EU Act. So I kind of I agree with this postponement. Companies in general are not ready for the EU AI Act, at least those who are strictly impacted by this, in particular the providers of high risk AI systems. At least from what I've seen out there. So we need also more guidance, more concrete standardization efforts, and more clarity on who will supervise, what will be the role of the authorities. We've seen many locally. Some of the authorities have been appointed, but not every authority has been appointed. So, and if nothing changes in 4 months, we should have the whole governance structure ready, which I really doubt that this will be the case.
We will break the news with you, Federico, because apparently, literally a couple of hours ago, the Parliament has voted for the postponement of the core part of the EU Act. So we will wait until December 2027 for Annex 3 systems and August 2028 for Annex 1 AI systems classified as high risk. So yeah, just giving the news to the audience that will listen. One crucial question that I want to ask you is, as you said, you've been working with AI adoption, I mean, basically since 2019, you said, and that was quite early on. And I was wondering, yes, a lot of companies clearly stressed about the EUA Act because that's a new thing that's coming up. But do you think that companies are fit for complying with all the other legislation that is in place and currently enforceable in the European Union? And I'm also referring specifically to the GDPR because we know that AI uses a lot of data, of course, and some of it is personal, some of it is copyrighted. How do you kind of help companies understanding the importance of compliance with GDPR and similar regulations?
Well, this is an interesting one because it is GDPR is indeed a very taxing regime for organizations. There are, from from my experience, there are different levels of compliance. It is difficult to say whether companies are fully compliant. I would really doubt any claim of full compliance with any regulation. We know that there is a degree of compliance. So, but I think that for companies, some companies or some stakeholders in the different companies, some of them are really worried about the possibility of being fined or the possibility of being subject of procedures or investigations. But this is if we see the statistically, it's very the probability or the likelihood is very low. I think that most of the companies nowadays, in particular those who work in the B2B sector, we have many clients working in the B2B sector. So most of the companies are more comfortable when they implement these safeguards or when they try to be as compliant as possible when they try to sell their products to their customers. So many times they are the customers of the company who imposes the compliance requirements instead of the fear of being subject of an administrative investigation. Data protection authorities have very limited resources and they cannot go outside and make audits to all the companies that we see out there. So I think that on the one hand, customers for large or B2B companies, and on the other hand, trust. I think that there are some examples we often see or we often cite. Apple, that was one of the companies that build their brand on the matter of trust, on privacy. So there are some sectors or some companies which are more familiar with this concept of trust. But there are a multiplicity of factors that can play a role in this into compliance. But as a summary, I really doubt any company or any organization, private or public, claiming to be fully compliant.
And talking about data, we did talk briefly about personal data, of course, by citing to the GDPR, but companies also require a huge amount of security and protection when it comes to confidential data. And I was wondering, from your personal experience, how do you deal with something that's called shadow AI use? So like companies adopting products, but then they're kind of employees using other products that are not a company compliant. How do you kind of confront that issue?
Well, this is also a question that we often have, because shadow AI is a derivation of shadow IT. Shadow IT existed since we have systems. So shadow IT is the use of IT systems or vendors or suppliers that are not legal, that are not regularized, or that are not subject to a specific procurement process. The same happens with AI, and all the more when we have, as of now, a mushrooming. We have AI tools all over the world, different tools appearing every single day. So, and this is something really difficult for companies to tackle, because you have of course the traditional or the regular procurement process in general. When someone have a need for a tool, they can ask for procurement or the relevant stakeholder. But this is something that with free tools that are available right now, we can name it ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Claude, Gemini. So there are thousands of these. It is extremely difficult for companies to keep pace. So there are different strategies that companies are adopting. Some of these, and I would say that the most effective ones are technical. So you have technical organizational measures. The technical, I tend to think that these are, in this case, the more effective. And by technical, I mean using network scans to see what is the usage of AI tools, and then determine which tools, if any, should be blocked, so you have no longer access. But also you have organizational measures, and organizational measures, training and raising awareness is one of these. Developing training campaigns and developing a training program for employees helps. We cannot say that it will completely eliminate, but it helps this issue, or at least it can reduce to different degrees the information that they put, or the actions that they take with these tools. We increasingly see that these tools are increasingly powerful. As of 2 years ago, we were only able to generate text. Now there are agentic AI tools that we can directly take action. So by taking action, this every single action that the tool or the agent may be able to do. For instance, internal actions within your device, but also external, using your mailbox, your communication channels. So it is, and this is why it's important to raise awareness on the first hand, but also when awareness is not sufficient, going to technical means is the most appropriate.
We had talked about these rules. A more general question would be about the enforcement, since you are on the other side of these policymakers. Do you think, from your experience, do you think it would be better to centralized or put the enforcement at the European level, or it should be more nationally driven model for reasons like proximity or democratic accountability? Do you think there is a way that is better, or a mix could be like the best way?
Yeah, this is also a challenging question, because I tend to think that the enforcement at national level is the right. So and we take as example GDPR, because it is the regime we are more familiar with. I think it works. Of course, there are always some problems and discussions when the enforcement it needs to be coordinated, or when the enforcement it needs to be supranational. But still, there needs to be one lead authority taking the investigation, and then the others can support. But yeah, AI or data protection does not happen in a single country. So the strategies and every enforcement action should also consider this fact as well. So it is very limited. Or I would say that I don't have statistics, but I tend to think that the majority of the cases are transnational, and even if it might be focalized in one jurisdiction, the effects are also expanded across other countries.
I'm going to ask you a potentially mean question, but just bear with me a second. Um, AI can be useful, of course, and its adoption has been seen as improving productivity. However, there have also been studies that show that productivity varies across sectors, and not all sectors actually benefit from deploying AI. Not to mention that there is a kind of loss to personal professionalism when it comes to the people that were usually doing that kind of task. So they've measured, for example, I think it was an MIT study that measured radiologists in hospitals. A lot of hospitals use AI for radiology purposes, because these are the best AI tools you can find, basically, and they are losing their expertise in the specific sector. So I'm wondering, when a company comes to you and tells you, I want to adopt AI, what do I do now? Is there any chance that you may tell them like maybe it's more expensive for you to adopt AI than actually what you would be gaining from it? Or is, for example, possible that you would say, don't get this very expensive tool, you can get a smaller model, for example, that gives you the same level of results, but is much less expensive or is much less um, in breach of data, for example, data protection or confidentiality?
Well, yes, I think so. I think that there are many things in this question. So on the nature or on the evolution of work, I think that we will see in the next couple of years many changes, for good or for bad. There will be changes. All of us will be affected by this, and again there will be professions, sectors, and seniority levels that will be affected differently. But I think that we all be impacted by by this. This is more on a generic nature. On company specific, of course, whenever we have the information, I don't have information about or expertise in every single model or how expensive or economically the adoption of specific strategies for these are more technical roles or more roles with more hands-on expertise on AI. But it's definitely true that there are strategies that can make some tools more expensive than others. So, and whenever we have the chance, we also advise on this. But we try to be in particular in this field where model change is something very that happens very regularly. Prices depend on different factors. But in a nutshell, yes, we advise on what are the strategies that can make work better, but at the same time we try to be cautious on how to advise on costs. And it is true, sometimes the use of AI creates more problems that it solves, and the problem that we see on a daily basis when people just automate their processes, and you just don't control what is AI producing, and then the chain of control within this within the work, you don't know who is responsible for. So yeah, we also need to be mindful of these challenges, and try to operate accordingly.
And before we let you go, Federico, the last question, I promise. Um, in terms of, let's say not 10 years in the future, because that's absolutely
Yeah, it's
impossible to
it's it's a
know.
lot.
That's too long. Maybe 1, 2 years. Let's give it a shorter break. Um, what kind of innovation slash technology slash workflow system do you see as being potentially something that we would be looking at as potentially good for companies, something that may really help companies thrive better? And with companies, I also would like for you to give a specific focus on the companies that are very, very kind of eradicated here in the European Union. So let's think about SMEs, for example.
Um, well, I tend to think that right now we starting to see we are starting to see how AI can transform, and we are starting to see the beginning. So the beginning of automation. We've seen that we've seen that with generative AI in general, there was a massive change, and let's call them, for the sake of simplicity, productivity gains. Then we can discuss a lot on whether these productivity gains actually took place or not. But what I tend to think, and this is pure assumptions and pure speculation, is that we will see higher level adoption and more specific more specific tools working in specific sectors. So, for instance, right now we have Cloud Cowork, which is the agentic AI per excellent and open and available to every single user or company for a and it's relatively inexpensive. But I think that in the near future we will see more specific agentic AI tools that will allow us to automate these tedious, time-consuming tasks, and we can be more productive and living our creativity, living our special part of human being for more value creative activities. So I tend to think that in the next couple of years we will see a specialization of these tools, and then we can also free time for us. But still, I would like to conclude. It'll remain to be seen, because we don't know what will be the path. I think that there is also need to be seen the advances in robotics. We've seen little. So as of now, we've seen only advances in generative AI, or even we've seen an incipient agentic AI, but we haven't seen very little in robotics. So I expect that in the future robotics will also takes off with the improvement of vision models and models and using merging artificial intelligence with physical devices. So, and we will see this in the future.
Yeah, world models sound like a very cool thing. I was looking into that a couple of days ago, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like these things have figured it out. It's like they're learning a lot of information and really like understand where your space is and what's around you, what's the surroundings. They will be incredible in robotics. And I really do hope that robotics gets developed, because, there are a lot of people that really struggle in a daily life, maybe with like a bit more kind of helpful robotics. Also some tasks can become better. Let's not forget that there are workers in factories and stuff. Maybe that's a better use than, ChatGPT.
And there will be a massive job displacement as well. But we will see. Some works, some jobs will be changed. Some work will evolve. Some others we will see what the future will be.
Yeah, it's we live in interesting times. Let's say so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Federico, for joining us on the podcast. It was such a pleasure to finally meet you and listen to you speaking. It was incredible. You are you have given us not only an overview, but really like a feel of what your job is, and it was incredible to talk to you.
Thank you very much, Rosalia and Giacomo, for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here and continue with this amazing initiative that I really like it. So I hope it was useful, and let's stay in touch. Thank you very much again.
Absolutely, and thank you, Giacomo.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Federico.
Thank you. And this was all for the Legal for Tech, the podcast.
This episode was brought to you in partnership with DG Beetle. DG Beetle helps privacy professionals to stay up to date with the most important European documents in the AI, data and digital space every day. Curious to know more? Check out the link in our show notes.